Okay, so we're back with another country in our Country of the World series. You guys remember which country we're doing today?
Kenya.
All right. So, who sees Kenya on this map of Africa?
Me.
Okay, right over there. Okay. And you guys see the other countries? It's very close to some other countries that we've done before. Do you see any of the other countries that we've done before?
Ethiopia,
Yeah.
Somalia, and one that we haven't done.
Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Right, and what's this one that's right next to Kenya? We did
Uganda.
that. Uganda, right?
And
we've done that
Tanzania.
one. Tanzania we haven't done yet, but we will. All right, so Kenya's over here. What part of Africa is Kenya in? Do you remember dividing up
East.
Africa? Right. So Kenya is a country in East Africa, and there's some important things that are very special about Kenya that are different from the other countries that we talked about. First of all, Kenya is the first country that we talked about in Africa that has a coast on the Indian Ocean. And Kenya is also a country that the equator goes right through. You guys remember the equator?
Yes.
It's that line that goes around the middle of the world and is usually the hottest part of the world, although it also depends on how far off the ground you are. There's some parts of Kenya that are right near the equator but are actually pretty chilly because they're very far up in the air, like mountains and stuff like that. So Kenya's not as hot as some other places that are on the equator. Some other important things to know is that even though Kenya is on the coast, a lot of the north of the country is a very dry desert. It's not the Sahara, it's a different desert that they share with Ethiopia. And there's also a very important feature of geology that passes through Kenya, which is called the Rift Valley, which is a place where continental plates meet, and it's basically a valley that gets where on either side of it mountains get pushed up by the plates pushing against each other. And the Rift Valley is an area where there's a lot of animals, a lot of crops, and it goes all the way down this part of Africa through Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania. And the capital of Kenya and its biggest city is Nairobi. That's a very important and famous city in Africa. And then the second largest city is on the coast, and it's called Mombasa.
Mombasa.
Now, if we talk about the history of Kenya and where people came from, it's really hard to say where people came from in Kenya because it's the place where humans have the oldest history. It's very close to where humans actually first existed. So before there were even humans in Kenya, there were the ancestors of humans, what we call hominids, which were somewhere between apes and people. And so they can find, between apes and humans were hominids. And so we can find skeletons in Kenya of animals that were a lot like humans going back for millions of years. So it's not like other countries where we know when the humans first showed up, because humans have always been in Kenya, even before humans were humans. However, during the time since then, later humans did migrate into Kenya from the north, from the south, and from the west. Not really from the east, because the east is the ocean, but from the north, the south, and the west, humans migrated into Kenya. And so they brought with them different languages, different influences. And we're going to go back over here to help you understand something that's very special about Kenya. So we're going to go to this whole map, actually, of Asia over here. And can you see where Kenya is on this map? Because you can still see it, even though this is a large map of Asia.
I know.
Show me where Kenya is on this map.
Me?
Yeah, right there, okay? So what you see is that here Kenya's on the Indian Ocean. That means it had a very different history from the countries in West Africa that are on the Atlantic Ocean, because Kenya could not easily be reached by the European countries. Remember, there was no Suez Canal. So in order to get to Kenya, they had to go all the way around the southern part of Africa, and it was very long and inconvenient. There was also no way for them to get across the center of Africa by land either. So for most of its existence, the area which is now known as Kenya was only reachable by the Indian Ocean, which meant it had completely different influences from Arabia, from India, from Malaysia and Indonesia, even from Persia, which is now Iran, and influences from China. So all of Kenya's original influences for hundreds of years were from Asia, and a lot of it from Arabia. So what happened is that traders came from Arabia. They got a very strong relationship.
Who? Traders?
Traders, people who trade goods on ships.
Oh.
And most of that interaction was within the coast, Mombasa and Malindi, other cities on the coast. And what ended up happening was that the language of the people on the coast developed its own character, because it had a lot of words that were brought in from Arabic, and that language became known as Swahili, which actually comes from an Arabic word meaning the coast, Swahili. So Swahili basically means the language of the coast, the people of the coast. The other things, what did Arabic people usually bring with them when they went to other countries? Not just
Jesus?
languages. I don't think that they particularly are known for doing that, but culturally, what do they bring? Right, but what is a very important part of Arabic culture? Their
Muslim
religion, right? Islam. So they brought Islam, and so for that period of time, there was a very strong Islamic influence in Kenya. Many people, especially around the coastal areas of Kenya, are still Muslim, and there's a lot of Islamic culture over there. Swahili is mostly an African language from the Bantu group of languages, but it has about 15 to 20% of Arabic words. So remember that the capital is Nairobi. This might be a good time to do our first video, which is about life and culture in the capital of Kenya, Nairobi.
My name is Wawea Masha. I am an artist, designer, and cultural ambassador for Africa. And this is my Nairobi, and I'm really excited to share it with you. This city is the hub of East Africa. Anything is possible. There are Maasai markets about every day of the week. You just have to ask around. Now I need a husband. Anyone? Here in Kenyatta Market, there are many kiosks to choose from. The hairstyle I'm getting, it just takes less than an hour, and it's really affordable. Kuana Trust is a place where you can find modern African art. Choices is a really cool place close to city center, place you can come see live music. Today I took a little bit of a journey away from the city. Today I'm visiting a really special place called the Giraffe Center. So this is my city in Africa, and I am proud of it. Me, I love Nairobi.
Okay, so that's a little about Nairobi. So you can see that Nairobi is a really big city, a modern city with all the stuff that we have here, cars and traffic jams, computers, markets, all that stuff. But that's not everything that's going on in Kenya. So eventually, the Europeans did arrive in Kenya. It took them a while. The Portuguese were the major explorers in that part of the world, so they were really the first ones who showed up over there. One very famous Portuguese explorer who showed up in Kenya, his name was Vasco da Gama. That's a name that keeps coming up in exploration. He's very famous for searching for something called the Fountain of Youth around the world, which is supposedly water you could drink that could make you young again.
No.
Of course, that doesn't exist, so he never found it. But that's what most people know about Vasco da Gama. But he was a big explorer, so he was in Kenya, and the Portuguese, you know, they were around there for a bit, but most of their focus was on different parts of Africa, different parts of Asia, so they never really made a strong influence in Kenya. Eventually, it was the English who took over in Kenya, mostly around 1895. And of course, as usual, when the Western Europeans came into Africa and colonized Africa, there was a lot of good things that happened, but also a lot of bad things that happened. So the good things that happened with the British is they helped make Kenya a more modern country. They put a lot of railroads in Kenya, and Kenya still has one of the most highly developed railway systems of any African country. And you can take the train, all the way from the center of the country, Nairobi, all the way to the coast. Things like that are not that common in Africa. But at the same time, the British were not really doing these things because they wanted so badly to help out the people who lived there, the Africans. They really wanted to take over the country for themselves, make the country more like Europe. So they would take the best farmland, they would create all these laws that made it harder for Africans to own property and to have rights in their own country. And so eventually, just like everywhere else in Africa and Asia, South America, North America, people who lived in those countries, people who lived in Kenya got tired of being told what to do, of being pushed around, of having all their best land taken, being forced to pay taxes that they weren't really getting any benefit for, and they started pushing back and fighting back against the British. They didn't really have to have an all-out war. After World War II, most of the European countries were slowly giving up the idea of colonization, and they were giving back these countries. So I think it was 1962, almost 60 years ago, when Kenya finally became an independent country. And their first president was Jomo Kenyatta, who is still a very famous and highly respected figure in Kenya. And if you ever go to Kenya, you'll see a lot of statues and things named after Jomo Kenyatta. And the other important thing to remember is that, like many other African countries, the borders were drawn in Kenya by Europeans when they were dividing things up. They did not really think or care about the normal divisions and lands that were owned by the different peoples of Kenya. So Kenya contains a lot of different groups of people mixed together. They don't always love each other. And sometimes they have disputes and fights with each other. And also some of those groups are split over different countries. So like, for example, a lot of the groups or tribes are split between Kenya and Tanzania. They're in both. Probably the most famous tribes of Kenya to the west are the Maasai tribe and the Kikuyu. The Kikuyu is the most populous, the greatest number of people in Kenya. And Jomo Kenyatta was from the Kikuyu tribe. The Maasai are, to the Westerners, the most colorful, and that's who we know the best because they get filmed the most, because they have, a lot of customs and cultures. So actually, let's look over here and see if we have anything about Maasai life. Here we go. So here's a village in Kenya.
Ginaida Sinara Larinisi. I am a Sintakaon. So very. Now I had a lightning in the high ground and Peter. Karen Kinabo and Kiranabo. A little Huracantoni. A little Cantoni, all the way around. Nelly Maury. And this is not my way Cantoni radio. Giraffe. Yana night heavy rain and no lake. If you have a baby, my life no good. It's improving making the Marata. Meaning, I don't know how my girl. I don't know. I know so good. And there is some ready.
Now let's watch another one about the kind of food that Maasai are famous for eating. So this guy, he likes to go around to different countries and eat their local food.
So they're taking the blood. That's where we get iron from. The goats are.
He's doing it right now?
Original. You want to test the blood?
What? Huh? What is happening?
You want to test? Do you want to test?
Sure.
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 Wait, yeah.
Is there a right way to do this?
Yeah. No, just anyhow.
Did you sip your river?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Delicious.
Wow.
How do you find it?
Milky.
Yeah, it's milky.
A bit salty.
Yeah, it's salty. You want? There is where we get iron from.
I'm pretty full, man.
Yeah.
I'll take it more later. Oh, wow, he's eating big chunks of it. Oh, okay, yeah, I don't want to be rude. Just a little bit more. You eat it? You eat it?
Yeah, yeah. Get it. That is the very first part that a lion starts after he killed a cow. That is why the lion is very strong.
The ladies are missing out on this, huh? It's good. No, it's good. It's good stuff. My compliments to the chef.
They are making it, diluting it with a herb. He's a warrior. When the lion attacked our animal, they are the people in charge to kill the lion. You see now, the blood is diluted, so it is good for drinking. Hello.
I'm glad I'm not a Maasai person.
I want to show you another street food. So here's they're going to eat cow feet.
Asante sana.
Come inside.
Okay.
Ah.
Oh, can I see?
Want to see?
Is it okay? Oh, this is the.
This is now the drum. Cow food.
Ah.
Cow food.
Asante sana. Hello, hello. Good, how are you? That is the cow foot.
Cow food.
We walked over to a place that specializes in cow foot, boiled cow foot. But yeah, that's the whole foot. He has them boiling in that milky broth. This will be my first time for a cow foot like this. Oh, there's the fried foot. Yeah, if you want some fried foot too? We can have. This one is the fried foot. Sawa. So you just take some of these pieces.
Yeah.
So you can take the bone, you can take the. It's mostly skin.
And
Skin, yeah.
This ugali.
Okay, you eat with ugali.
Cow leg. So sweet.
I got kind of a oily skin piece. Yeah, it's skin, but it's been cooked for probably so long that it has this crunch to it. And this one is the plain, just the boiled cow leg. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That one has a little more grizzle to it.
So the other thing that's really famous about Kenya is the wildlife. Remember, we talked about the Rift Valley and how it's a very good place for wildlife. They have all lions, they have giraffes and elephants and all those animals in Kenya. And one of the things that's really cool about going to Kenya is that you can see the wildlife, you can go on safari, and you can interact with the wildlife. So this is something that's really famous from Kenya. It's called the Wildebeest Migration. And wildebeest are kind of like an antelope kind of animal that moves in huge herds of thousands and thousands of animals at a time. And every year they move back and forth from Kenya to Tanzania and back, and it's called a migration when you move from one area to another. And one of the famous parts, right? And one of the famous parts of the migration is when they cross this really wide river by the thousands.
So here we are watching our first river crossing. It's an amazing experience watching so many creatures battling against the river. Unfortunately, many wildebeest don't make it and are either drowned, trampled, or taken by crocs while attempting the crossing.
Some of them get eaten by crocodiles. Yes. Okay. And then here's another really cool thing that you might see if you go to Kenya. So now we're going to learn a few words of Swahili.
First, let's see how Kenyan people introduce themselves in an informal situation. Habari, mimi ni Medina. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Hi, I'm Medina. Nice to meet you. Habari, mimi ni Medina. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Let's break it down. Start with the greeting. Habari, then mimi ni, which is followed by your name. Next, say the phrase, Nina furaha kukutana na wewe. Nice to meet you. Altogether, it is, Habari, mimi ni Medina. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe.
All right. So let's.
Habari.
All right, you try it first.
Mimi ni Cleo. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe.
Very good, Cleo. Ian,
Habari. Mimi ni Ian. Nina furaha kukutana na wewe.
All right, I like it. That's very good. All right, let's learn just a couple more words that are from our book over here.
You try.
So the way to say hello, jambo.
Jumbo.
And the way to say goodbye,
Kwaheri.
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 And
Yes.
ndia,
Ndia.
ndia. And the way to say no,
Hapana.
hapana. Please,
Tafadhali.
tafadhali. And thank you, asante.
Asante.
Asante. Okay, so those are all the words you need to know to be polite to everybody in Swahili in Kenya. So let's just briefly review what we learned over here. Ian, you can look at that in a minute, okay? So Kenya, what are the countries that it borders?
Tanzania, Somalia, Ethiopia,
And also South Sudan. South Sudan is over there. So it borders, South Sudan is over here. It doesn't show up on the map, but it's now separated from Sudan. So this is South Sudan over here. And also Lake Victoria, which is the largest lake in Africa. And then on the other side, the Indian Ocean. The capital, Nairobi. Second largest city on the coast, Mombasa. The equator goes through Kenya. And in the north is the desert, the Chalbi Desert. The most well-known, to the west, the most well-known tribes of Kenya are the Maasai and the Kikuyu, although now another one is getting more well-known called the Luo, because the Luo, the president, the last president, the 44th president of the United States, Barack Obama, his father was from Kenya and was from the Luo tribe of Kenya. So that's another reason why Kenya is an important country to know about, because we had a president whose father was from Kenya.
Really?
Our country had a president, the United States. So I think that is all we need to learn right now about Kenya. How do you guys feel about Kenya?
Good. I want to go to a hotel more than anything in
The
Kenya.
giraffes, right?
Yeah.
And you want to eat goat blood, right?
No!
And raw goat guts?
No!
Okay, all right. Say bye-bye. That's all for now.
Bye.
Kenya.